Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vero and today we are going to be setting up my bullet journal spreads for the month of October. Before we get into those spreads, let's have a quick flip through of September's spreads. I absolutely adored this theme. It was so fun to do, kind of back to basics with like floral decorations and using highlighters and crayola super tips, which is very reminiscent of the very first days that I ever started doing bullet journaling, which is kind of different to what I do now, which can be sometimes a little bit more paint heavy or detail heavy. So it's really nice to do something different. This month I have decided to do not a Halloween theme and not a spooky theme and not an autumn theme because I am currently in spring. And because I live in Canberra, spring is the arrival of Florals, which is kind of like a tulip festival in Canberra. So I'm going to be doing tulips for the month of October. Now in this page here at the back, I've kind of done some pen tests to see which colors go together. As you can see, I also did that for September and I didn't show that in my September video, so in case you were wondering, that's kind of how I pick my colors. I've already hand drawn pretty much all the tulips that I'll be drawing. This first page is going to be like some very cute little tulips there. I actually don't entirely love the very first page of tulips, but the pages after that I absolutely love. Now I am using the Stabilo highlighters. These particular highlighters were kindly gifted to me by Stabilo Australia. Thank you, Stabilo Australia, super kind of you. I just want to kind of show you that you can do a lot more than just use them as highlighters. You can actually do decorations. So a lot of the florals that you'll see, like the base color will always kind of be a highlighter color, and then I'll add layers on top with some highlighter, some crayola super tips, and of course some other colors. For this particular tulip, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a close-up. As you can see in the pencil, I kind of have a couple of layers of petals going on. So for this first iteration of the tulips, I'm kind of going for a pink and a purple petals on the same flower. I will change this up later on because I'm not actually a big fan of what I've done here. I'm just experimenting and seeing what works and if I like it or not. So what I'll do is I'll use the highlighters to just kind of add a little bit of toning and colors and shading to the flowers. Now when the highlighters go on, they go on a little bit darker, and then once they're dry, the colors kind of mute down a little bit, so that's quite nice. And then I'm just going to add some details here and there. As we move on, I'm just going to continue doing the flowers. As you can see here, I've gone for single color flowers and I actually prefer it that way, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to kind of be doing that for the rest of the video. Things that I absolutely love about this theme is not actually the tulip drawing but the leaf drawings and the stems, because they are really fun to do. I'm using a Tombow dual brush pen for this and I'm just kind of going to draw on the leaves. Now on the cover page, everything is kind of like I'm getting into the process. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to do things and how things are going to look. So things are maybe a little bit more precise, or you know, I'm a little bit more hesitant to draw specific lines, but in the future, which you'll see in like literally a couple of seconds, I kind of just go for it and don't even worry too much about what the petals or the leaves look like, because it all comes together in the end, in my opinion. I'm also using a Crayola super tip, which is a slightly different color because I don't have a very large color range of Tombow dual brush pens because they are super expensive. I feel like I only buy them when they're on sale, and you know, you can kind of get other colors from other brands in any case. For the title, I'm going to be using Tombow Funosuke pens, and they are just a really thin brush tip. And the font that I'm going for is just kind of like a spooky adjacent. No, you know what? I'm just rambling. Absolutely not. It's just a fun font. And there we have the cover page. Now I'm pretty happy with it, although it's not my favorite. So let's move on. As you can see with the pencil, I have drawn on what the tulip's going to look like. So these ones are going to be blue tulips. For this, I'm going to use the highlighter to kind of outline the different tulips. Now I try and do the colors per tulip so that they dry a little bit in a way that I can figure out what's going to be what, because if I did it all in one go, I feel like the blue of the highlighter would just blend in across the page and I wouldn't be able to figure out which flower is where. So I'm kind of doing one flower at a time, trying to outline each individual petal, and then I'll go in with a darker color to give it more dimension. The darker blue that I'm using is an Archer and Olive calliograph pen. I'm pretty sure it's from the Jewel collection, to say, question mark. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's from that one. Or it's the tropical collection, one of the two. And then I'm going to use a darker blue for giving it a little bit more depth and dimension. Now, just a really light hand here, all in the creases and the darker sections because we want it to like pop. Now, the thing with these flowers is up close, they might not look super amazing or like tulips, but when you look at it from far away, I feel like they look like tulips, which is kind of fun and kind of cool. And then once we've done that, we're going to go in with the leaves. Now you'll see that from the first page to this next page, I'm a lot faster and I actually take less care with how the leaves and the stems look because it all kind of works and blends in together. And with the layers of the pen itself, you kind of get that nice leaf effect. Once I've done that, this is what it looks like from above. I think it looks super effective and I absolutely adore it. I'm also going to write October, or just the first 3 letters of the word October at the top, kind of blending it behind the flowers. Now I did kind of make a small mistake. I was originally going to move the letters a little bit to the right, but honestly it doesn't really make much of a difference and I'm okay with that. Actually, one thing that I do end up doing later on in the video is I come back to it and I add the letter O for like Octo, and then I kind of regretted it. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm also going to do my little calendar on the side, so kind of the same font for the days of the week, and then I'm going to use a Muji gel pen to do the calendar itself. I have not used a calendar, like an actual physical calendar like this, instead of a vertical monthly log or a horizontal monthly log in a while, so it's kind of nice to go back to this. So for this calendar, I'm actually going to do a little bit of different thing. I'm going to kind of lift up the pen at intervals to make the lines a little bit more discreet, so they're not so heavy, and I think it looks kind of good. I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest. I just think it's nice to kind of have it a little bit lighter. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's keep moving. I did go back into the tulips with the green Crayola super tip just to give it a little bit more dimension. Not that it didn't already have dimension. And the way that I was doing that in here was kind of adding some lines and layers to some of the leaves. Later on, you'll see that I'll just do the tips of the leaves and it looks much better. Not that it doesn't look great now, because it does. For these particular tulips, I wanted to challenge myself and use only the stabilo highlighters. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, unfortunately, it looks like my camera angle is a little bit blurry. I do apologize for that, but I think you can kind of get the gist of it here. I'm just going to do this kind of like purpley, lilac-y color for the tulips, darkening it with a purple here. You can kind of see like the individual petals coming out, and I darken like the tip of the petal and then the base of the tulip as well. So as you can see, I think it's quite effective with the dark purple. It kind of pops out really nicely, but as you'll see in a moment, once that's fully dried, the purple does get a little bit more muted, so slightly different. For the leaves, I'm going in with this nice pastel green, and then I'm going to darken some of the leaves again. I think it looks quite nice, and it's coming together quite nicely as well. And here you can see what I mean with the colors blending into each other. With this particular highlighter, you can't really tell the leaves apart, so you have to like add in an additional color to be able to, you know, figure it out. So this is what it looks like, and this color is actually a little bit more blue than green. Go in with a slightly darker green as well, and everything pulls together quite nicely. For this page, it's something I haven't done in a long time because I haven't had a daily routine, and now that I've started a new job and I actually have and can have a daily routine, I've decided to put in an ideal daily routine for what I would like my life to look like. If you're a little bit curious, basically I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I want to do some yoga in the morning, just about 15 minutes, because as you'll see, I do quite a bit of physical activity throughout the day. So after I've done yoga for 15 minutes, I would like to have breakfast, then prepare my bags, and then I'm going to be riding to work. So it might not be a huge deal for other people, but for me, riding to work, at least at this distance, is quite a big deal. The ride to work is 20 minutes. It's 7.3 kilometers to be exact. And then I go to work for the whole day. After work, I obviously want to go to the pool. I want to swim. I will be starting to swim more and more as the time goes by because I enjoy it and because I've got a really big personal challenge coming up. After that, go home, have a shower, prepare my lunch for the next day, prepare my clothes, prepare everything, because I don't want to be waking up in the morning and have to prepare anything except for, like, you know, getting some swimmers into bags because my swimmers were wet from the previous day or something like that. And then eventually, you know, kind of settle down, read a book, that kind of thing, and then go to sleep. So yeah, that was kind of my daily routine. If you were interested in it, maybe you're not, maybe you are. If I'm rambling too much, just skip ahead, my friends. The next page is my to-do page. Sticking to last month, the to-do boxes that I'm keeping, 4 of them, going to be personal tasks, work tasks, VeroBujo tasks, and things that I would like to buy. Next up, we are moving on to my habits page. These tulips are potentially my favorite tulips of this video, but it could also be the tulips that I do after this. I'm gonna have to like analyze after I've watched all the video, because in person I feel like these tulips will look nicer, but on video maybe the next ones will. Anyway, let's continue. These ones is kind of like displayed in a bouquet. Actually, a lot of the flowers here you'll see are displayed in a bouquet. And the color I've gone for these ones are pink. They are really, really gorgeous, and I absolutely love how they turn out. So same technique as before, just starting off with the base color for the tulips. And I'm going really, really quickly, or as quickly as I can with these tulips, because it is quite easy to do now. As long as you kind of pencil out the outline of your tulips and then erase it, not too much that you can't see the outline, then you're pretty much set. And what I found out is that the amount of details that I did draw on with a pencil was totally unnecessary, because once you erase them and go in with highlighters with thicker tips like these and crayola super tips, you can't achieve the amount of detail that I was going for when I initially drew these tulips out by hand. So I think you could literally just get away with drawing like an oval or something, or a round blob, and then just like kind of filling it in later. As you can see, everything's coming together. I'm going to do a second coat, which is a darker color. Actually, when you look at this particular one right now, it kind of looks weird. This angle or this lighting and this color combination makes me almost a little uncomfortable. Am I the only one? Does this make anybody else uncomfortable, or is it just me? But once I go in with a darker color, it makes me less uncomfortable. Like it brings things together. But before, I felt like those lines were just a little bit too aggressive on the page, and it was just like, oh, this is too much. Next up, we are going in with the leaves. My favorite part of drawing tulips is the leaves, because it's just so fun and so easy. Because it's a brush pen, you can obviously play around with the pressure on the pen so that you can get some really fun lines going on, and that's kind of what I'm going to do. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but tulip leaves are quite long, and when they're in a bouquet, you get a lot of green rather than a lot of pink or colors of the tulips. So you actually get more colors of the leaves. So that's what I'm going for. Here's a close-up of me writing the word habits, as well as the font that I'm using. I kind of like thin out the little tip so it kind of has a little bit more dimension to it. And then we're going to move over to my habits. For my habits this month, I am going for a horizontal habit tracker. I'm out of breath. But yeah, I'm going for a horizontal habit tracker, and I'm going to have it divided into a couple of categories. So you've got morning habits, afternoon/evening habits, and then random habits. So I'm just going to list all of those out really quick. Moving on, we're going to my October review page. As you may have noticed last month, I decided to do my September review page within my monthly spreads, and I actually really enjoyed that. So I'm going to do the same thing this month. The tulips, same process again. The colors I'm going for are purple. So I'm using a light purple, then a dark purple, and then a purple calligraph pen for the little details. I really like how this color scheme works out. I think it's my favorite color scheme, but unfortunately not my favorite details of flowers. Although it does look really nice. I'm going to write the word review, October review. Things that I review, by the way, if you're curious, are my positives, my negatives, the movies I've watched, the series that I watch, and the music that I listen to. If you're wondering about books, that is usually at the front of my journal. I was going to say you could watch my 2023 plan with me, but I actually don't think I included that in my 2023 plan with me. So when you see my end of the year journal flip through, I will show you then. We are now moving on to my weekly spreads. Now, I'm going to be honest, drawing this many tulips can be a little bit tedious. So what I've decided to do is to do some really funky Dutch doors. So the Dutch doors are going to be oddly shaped as well. They're going to go around the tulips themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many pages I want for the weeks, and I'm going to be doing rolling weeklies for the month of October, simply because when I looked at my September spreads, I realized that even though it was super pretty and that I had a lot of space, I didn't end up using a lot of it because I've just started a new job and I'm not using this particular bullet journal. I'm using a different journal for my work. So first I'm going to do the designs. As you can see, I'm using a kind of like that lilac-y blue color with some purple, and then I'm using a Pentel brush sign pen instead of the other pens that I've used. I know I've used a lot of different pens from different brands in this particular video. It's because, you know, I'm exploring all the pens that I have to see if I use all of them. I'm definitely never going to throw out any of my pens, but it's interesting to see which ones I use more. The Pentel brush sign pens are the pens that I use the most. So I was trying to venture away from them just to like give some other pens a little bit of attention, a little bit of love. Does anyone relate to that, or is that just me? Anyway, onto the leaves. As you know, leaves are super fun to draw, and then I'm just going to add some detailing with the Crayola super tip, which is like this. So it kind of makes the tips a little bit darker. Cut out the Dutch doors for this particular page because I've drawn it on the back, which I know you probably can't tell at the moment, but it's not super obvious as to how I'm going to be able to cut out the Dutch doors. My idea was to grab a little bit of parchment paper that's transparent-ish and trace out the shape of the tulips on the paper. So this is what it looks like. And then I need to count how many squares I've got, and I'm just going to bring that paper onto the previous page so that when I trace a line, you can actually see where I need to cut for the next part. And actually, even before that, I actually colored in the back so that when I trace it, it leaves a better shadow for this line. Then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut it all out. So as you can see, the Dutch door kind of forms itself there, and it's kind of giving it more of a 3D dimension because the tulips are going to pop out, which is really fun. I'm just going to use the outline of the actual Dutch door to help me cut out other ones. And they all kind of form together and look like this, which I think is super effective and really, really fun. As you may have noticed at the beginning of the video, I was leaving a 2 box, whatever you want to call it, margin when I was drawing the tulips, and that's because I will be doing tabs again this month. I absolutely loved the tabs from last month, and I definitely want to redo them this month, so I will be doing that. One of the things that you kind of see here is that I had originally wanted to do like squares on that page. I scrapped that idea and I just went with 3 columns per page so that you can kind of have that rolling weekly. I'm using a stabilo highlighter to just kind of outline the bottom of the page just so that I know where I should stop writing, and that's kind of coming all together. Finally, I'm going to cut out my tabs. I've got 5 pages. 5 pages? I want to say 5 pages, or 5 pages worth of tabs. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And I'm not including the weekly spreads because they're all going to kind of fall under one tab, even though there's like multiple pages in it. Same thing, X-Acto knife, ruler, cutting mat, and then I'm just going to figure out the colors that I'm going to use. So here, just playing around with the colors, and then I'm going to use the highlighters to highlight my pages. Anyway, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this theme and this video. I have absolutely loved this theme. It's been really, really fun to do. A bit of a stray from what I usually do, although it's similar to September, and I'm just really excited about it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in another video. If you want some more bullet journal inspiration, check out my September video right over here.